financial clinic. Bench nimeweka nje kama kawaida, nimeisanitize, nimeipanguza, and we are getting into an interesting conversation today. We are looking at common real estate mistakes that people make. Unataka kununua maguta. I hear people calling it that. Mugoda. You want to buy a kashamba, or you want to buy some property. You know, land is big in this country, but people make a lot of mistakes when they're purchasing land or property. So we want to look at some of the common mistakes that people make so that you don't make those mistakes. I've got two wonderful gentlemen with me in studio today. We have Eric Gitonga. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing well. Karibu sana. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. We also have Joseph Njoroge. Joseph, how are you?
Salama kabisa, James. Yourself?
I'm doing well, my friend. You're making me look bad, my friend. Umengara kabisa.
A beautiful day that the Lord has made. Indeed. We have to make the most of it.
I'll come for mentoring.
You're welcome. For a small fee.
That's okay. Great to have both of you on the financial clinic today. Land and property is big in this country. I mean, everybody, you know, you talk about investment, one of the first things people will tell you, nunua kapuloti. Whether it's like a 10 by 10 somewhere in Kamulu, you know, whether it is property in somewhere, we are so big on that, but we also have a lot of issues that arise when it comes to buying property. And so today I want us to kick off this series by looking at some of the common mistakes people make when they are getting into buying property or buying land. And both of you, you know, I believe you help people who are trying to get property or to access property, so you would know the common mistakes. So Eric, let me begin with you. What are some of the common things you have seen that people do wrong when they are buying property?
Yeah. So let me start by saying that some of the things that people don't consider are their needs. They don't go through a list of the needs and wants they put down or rather they have thought about over life. So they don't clarify that, and when opportunity knocks, they hear there's a kamugoda somewhere, they just rush. And that's where the mistakes begin, just rushing into a decision without carefully thinking through. So to say.
Okay. You know, the whole thing of land, we have been made to feel like if you have not bought a piece of land somewhere, you have no idea what you're doing with your life. That's what I get, whether it is from our parents or from our peers. It's always like, you haven't bought land, what is wrong with you? And I'm just wondering, Joseph, is that kind of pressure and mentality one of the things that leads people into rash decisions and then you end up making mistakes?
Absolutely, yes. Look, you used a very common phrase in this industry, maguta. Yeah. And some of us we don't all know what it means, but it just gives us a vibe. And real estate is one of the better investments, especially in Kenya. It's an appreciating asset, so we all want to put our money there because we know our money will grow.
Yeah.
However, due diligence lacks, because whenever somebody says maguta, we know, you know what, this is prime. The price is for steel, so I need to put my money there. But you do not go through the right process. You do not follow the due diligence to make sure that you do not lose your money. So guys jump into the decision to buy land because they do not want the price to go higher or to lose out of that opportunity. So they jump into that decision, and then things can go sideways after that.
You know, when you talk about due diligence, what is due diligence? Because when you talk to a good number of people who found themselves on the short end of the stick when it comes to buying property, they will tell you, but I went to this office and I talked to this person and I talked to this person. So on matters due diligence, what should somebody look out for before they commit?
You need to do your background. Who are you buying the land for? Is this land legit? Do they actually have the authorization to sell it, or are they a second, a third, a fourth party. That means that probably the price is more than what it needs to be because everybody wants their cut in it.
Yeah.
Also, the titles may not be ready. The titles, it could even be a family land. You know, they especially when you're dealing with family land, you find that there's some disputes in the family. One family member is engaging, say, a property agent to sell for them, but there's a haggle at the back whereby another family member is saying they don't want to be sold or they want their cut. Or so you need to know who owns the land, right? No, dealing with an agent is perfectly fine. They're the ones who bring us such opportunities. However, it's okay to ask questions to the agent. Also, it's okay to find out about the cost implications of actually buying the land. Right? There's things like inspection, there's things like stamp duty, there's conveyancing, there's cost implications you need to take into account before you actually go ahead and purchase, or before you actually make the decision that that's the land you want to purchase.
Okay. I'm just wondering, Eric, because it seems like there are so many things somebody needs to consider. Is it wise when you're buying property to engage the services of a professional who does this for a living because they know where the loopholes could be and they know the important things you need to look out for? Is it advisable for one to engage the services of somebody who actually does this professionally?
In fact, it's advisable to engage every professional involved. And just to add on to what my colleague said, someone like a surveyor might help you. I remember at one time, I was selling a property somewhere, and when we looked at the wall, the boundary wall of this property, it was a house, we noticed something was amiss. So I looked at the title, I did some measurements and realized there's a bit of it that is off. So when we asked the seller, they confirmed, yes, the boundary wall had been moved and there was a dispute. You see, at that point, we avoided the headache of getting into a transaction that had already an issue with the boundary. So then involving those professionals like a surveyor, very important. So we had to get in a surveyor to confirm and then follow it up with the issue to do with the boundary between the neighbors. So very, very key. If you need a lawyer to do some due diligence for you, to draft an agreement that protects you, that's also very important. So from the real estate agent all the way to the last person in the transaction, you need all that. But I always recommend start with the real estate agent because it's not as costly when you start with them because they pick out things for you that they won't necessarily charge you for.
You know, you talk about the cost factor and sometimes now talking from this perspective of somebody who's trying to get some property, sometimes we want to minimize the cost. And so I'm thinking at a lawyer, at a surveyor, at a real estate agent. I'm just seeing the zeros are piling on this thing. And if I can avoid the lawyer, if I can avoid this and that, you know, that's how a lot of us think. What's the danger of thinking like that?
The danger is this: the fraction of expense that goes into buying the property is negligible compared to, let's say you're buying a 10 million shilling property and keep using these professionals. When you get in trouble, you risk losing the 10 million as opposed to a few hundreds of thousands. So the question is, would you rather lose a few hundreds of thousands or would you rather lose a whole 10 million shillings? At times we don't like to, we like to think that we are smart enough.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine used to like to use this analogy. If you're not good at shining shoes, leave it to the shoe shiner. If you're not good with repairs, leave it to the repairer. Let everyone stick to their lane. And that way, you know, we forget how much experience the professionals have. They do that job every day, year in, year out. So it's important to consider that your smartness cannot outdo their years of experience.
Yeah.
You know, their experience has built up. And it's not comparable.
I love what you're saying, Eric. You know, one of the things I've seen sometimes, Joseph, is there's always that friend who knows somebody who can do it cheaper, or there's always that friend who always has these deals that they bring to you, and we tend to gravitate towards that. So I love what Eric is saying. But the other thing I've seen, I've got a friend of mine who has got, I don't know how many plots scattered all over the place, and he's not doing anything with them, you know, and it has become something that quite a number of people do. They just buy because land is good. What is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? You have like 15 plots, 10 by 10 in Kamulu, another one sijui in where, Kangundo huko sijui wapi. You know, is that a good thing, or is that a recipe for disaster as well?
It's not a bad thing. Like we said, why are they buying the land? Some people buy it for speculative purposes. So that's an investment. So, you know, we have multiple investment channels that people can use.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, land seems to be one of the best in terms of growth potential, right? So if I have a few hundred thousands, maybe a couple of millions in the bank, what can I get in terms of return on investment annually? Maybe 5-6%. But when you invest in land, you're planning that this land, or you're anticipating that this land will grow in value very drastically. We're talking about SGR itapita hapa. We're talking about bypass in a jengo.
Yes.
You know, all these things that are supposed to increase value of the land. We have these new cities that are coming up, this Konza, this Tatu. In and around Konza and Tatu, we are expecting the value of that land to go through the roof because there's a planned development coming there.
Yeah.
So guys buy land there. If I cannot afford land inside Konza, inside Tatu, I will buy land somewhere nearby because I know the trickle-down effect in terms of the development of that area will fall on my laps. Because if I want to live there, then you know, I'll be next to amenities like hospitals, schools. If I want to sell it off, then this land will be of higher value, so return on investment will be much higher than my money sitting in a bank. However, this something you mentioned about buying without actually thinking about what that perceived value will be, that future value, that speculation you're talking about. You have to engage professionals to really tell you what the facts are and what they expect to happen. You cannot talk to a friend and then you decide since SGR in a beta it will triple the price. That's not how it's done. So Eric said something about people feel like they know too much, better than the professionals. That's the danger. That's so dangerous because you want to, you see those small costs that you're talking about. Eric mentioned something about do you want to lose 100,000 or do you want to lose a couple of millions?
Yes.
I'm actually thinking it's not losing 100,000, it's investing in peace of mind. So I would definitely engage professionals so that I can settle down knowing that, you know, this land, it's legit. Whatever I'm anticipating of it, growth of 30%, it's a range, say 30 to 40 to 50%, because professionals anticipate that's what will happen. So I'm making a very conscious decision. So again, that's what I mentioned when I talked about due diligence. I'm engaging the right people. I'm making proper decisions. It's not a friend's thing. This is an investment. This is your life. This is your money. You worked really hard for it. So make smarter decisions about it. Awesome. Land is absolutely a nice place to put your money, right? But and just like any other investment, even a kabiashara on the side, you have to be aware of your decision-making process.
Okay, you know, there's this thing I want us to talk about shortly, and I've experienced this where, you know, this land is advertised, and then on this Saturday, mnaenda kuiona, mnajazwa kwa karosa hapo, You know, you go there, there's like a tent that's been set up, there's a DJ, there's music playing, there are refreshments, you showed this plan, you know, here there'll be a road, unaona hata stima iko karibu kufika, by the way, this plot has gone, this one has gone, this one has gone, this one has gone. If you put a deposit today, you get a 20% discount and you feel pressured. What? Hizi zote zimeenda. Hapa kutakuwa na barabara. Hii hapa ni shopping center, this is the playground for the children. Your story, when you are there, what are some main things you need to look out for before you place that deposit ya kushikilia mi nataka hizi tatu? In fact, you know, sometimes when you go for those things, there are people who come and they say mi nimeweka deposit nataka hiyo na hiyo na hiyo. Mwingine anakuja anasema mi nimeweka deposit ya hiyo, and you're thinking like, boss, things are flying off the shelf. I'm missing out on something. How do you handle such situations? We'll talk about that shortly. We are talking about common real estate mistakes on Jam 316 this morning. If you have a question or an experience that you want to share with us, 20316 is the SMS line, and the WhatsApp number is 0786316316. It is the Financial Clinic. We are looking at common real estate mistakes. We are hanging out with Joseph Njoroge. He is the head of sales at BuyRentKenya, and we're hanging out with Eric Gitonga as well. He is the CEO of Lico Real Estate. Your questions are coming through on 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786316316. Now, gentlemen, before we talk about the issue I'd raised earlier on, there's a situation here. This one says, good morning. I bought a house which was off plan at the stage of just land. Now my deposit stuck there for 13 years. The developer enjoying my rent, no documents because they had a court case with government over the land and no refund in sight. Beautiful houses, people living there hoping for the best. Due diligence had been done by reputable bank, lawyers, and now bank could not release money with no documents. I had even paid stamp duty. Yes, bypass issues. House is still there, but ni kama hajapata kitu. What went wrong in a situation like this? Joseph? Yeah.
All right. So, James, unfortunately, this is one of the things that really affects this market in Kenya. Okay. Right? Like, we have developers of property just taking money. I don't want to say stealing money, because it's not factual. We do not know what's going on in the background. Yeah. But because what the viewers say, the due diligence was followed and documentations were proper. If he or she, I'm sorry, we did not get her name or his name. If she did due diligence, engaged lawyers and so on and so forth, this is a legal issue now, and she has the right to take it to court. She has the right to claim what's hers to be returned. Right? So we have it's so much so in the industry that we find some of our lenders are unwilling to give financing to buy off-plan properties. That's how bad it is. Okay. And most countries actually, because this behavior, let me call it that, by developers is not that common, their financial lenders are very comfortable giving their facilities to buy off-plan projects. However, in Kenya, since this has happened over and over again, you find that even financial institutions want their hands off when it comes to off-plan. So I'd suggest that she has a case here. She did do her due diligence. She has lawyers. So this is a matter of taking to court and pursuing for refund of her money. Okay.
Wow. So Eric, back to the other issue before we talk about now, because I also want us to look at buying a house and buying property that has been developed already, whether there's a difference between when you're going for that or when you're just going for land. We'll look at that shortly. But hii maneno ya kuwekwa kwa rosa, mnapelekwa kwa kichaka mahali, and you're given all these promises. What frame of mind should somebody approach such a situation with? Especially when you see people are claiming they've paid a deposit here and you feel like you're losing out.
Okay, before I answer, can I add on to Joseph's
Yes,
point?
definitely.
Having been in this industry for a couple of years, one of the things I've noticed is, just hold on. You need to involve a professional, as you said earlier on. If you go with a realtor who is experienced and trusted, they'll be able to spot. I heard you mention riparian. They'll be able to spot areas that have issues. I remember there's a time I took someone to Syokimau, and I looked at the reeds in between the properties and asked myself, why are these people developing in a place where they seems like to be waterlogged?
Yeah.
And so in my head, I thought, okay, let me do some research. And I asked a bit more. I went around the neighborhood, asked about the history of the place. The history is very important. And I found out that there used to be a stream. And then I also discovered that they the people who were developing the apartments were not supposed to develop the apartments in that area.
Oh.
So I told my buyer, I'm not confident about you buying here as much as the laws have been passed, that they've been allowed. I'm not sure whether someone has cut corners.
Yeah.
So, and in many cases, there are places you go and like, the river is very close. And this has appeared on media.
Yes.
And you look at the distance from the river to the houses, it begs the question. No wonder some houses got flooded when, it rained so much. So when you notice such things, you should just avoid, advise your clients to avoid buying such properties.
Okay.
Because common sense dictates that the distance is not enough.
Yeah.
See, and so you're likely to be in the riparian area. So I would say those are some of the things that goes wrong with the riparian people. But about the Rosa person, can I come back? Can I answer that one now?
Yes.
So, human beings are easily driven by greed or scarcity mentality, for lack of a better word. When we're going into investments, we need to remember that we live in a world of abundance.
Yeah.
God has given us enough in this lifetime. So if you let scarcity mentality or greed get hold of you, you will not be able to make a good decision. And you might miss out on the opportunities that are out there. So you go and there's a plot here, next time you hear there's another one. But if you sit down and carefully structure how you want to invest and where you want to end up, you need to look at the long-term goals. You'll not be caught up in these kind of deals that either do not give you a good return or some of them are not genuine. So you need to think of long-term. So it's good to sit down and think of the investment from a long-term perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there different things to consider when you are buying a house, Joseph, as opposed to when you are just buying land?
Yes, there are. Also, the cost implications of, say, documentation and such things are higher for a house than are for land, right? So for a house, it's a little bit more. You have the hidden cost when you're buying a house a little bit more. Something that people do not take account of is how you need to do inspection of the house before you buy it. So you need to hire a professional or two to do inspection for you. Like, for example, Eric has touched on something like riparian land. And how you need to be advised by a professional who is aware of the area that you want to invest in, its history, flooding, is it because it's been built the wrong place, so on and so forth. Like we have very beautiful new developments that come up, but they have flooding issues.
Yes.
Why is that? Maybe the developer did not factor in how big of a drainage system they need to construct around that area. So you also need inspection for things as small as the drainage for your house, maybe the plumbing is off, maybe there's pests. You know, there's some people who live in houses that are infested by bats in the ceiling.
Oh.
Right? So the areas actually, when you build a house, the roof needs to be designed in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because of how bats move into your ceiling around the same time you move into your house. So it's very frustrating. There's also stamp duty.
Mm-hmm.
So when we buy land, more often than not, we are buying land outside Nairobi, maybe further out, maybe around its environs. But how stamp duty works is the more rural the property is, the cheaper the stamp duty is. But the more urban it is, the higher the stamp duty is. So the implication there could be higher for a house, because more often than not, we do buy houses in and around cities,
mm-hmm.
right? So land could be more rural. And then land, we usually buy it out of pocket because mm-hmm. it's hundreds of thousands. It could be affordable.
Yeah.
Houses are in the millions.
Yes.
Right? It could be tens of millions, even depending on how much God has blessed you.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to apply for a financial assistance. You want to apply for mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's implications when you're talking about underwriting by the lender. Okay, mm-hmm. So they will charge you a fee to verify the details that you've given. So, for example, you claim that you have these assets. You claim that you have this business that brings in this amount of revenue every single month.
Yeah.
You have this type of salary. You see, all these are assets that go towards determining whether or not you will actually get the finance, mm-hmm. the pre-approval step. So there's a fee involved there. There's a conveyancing fee, and so on and so forth. So you'd see that for a house, the implications are higher. What you need to consider is slightly higher. Also, the amount of money you're spending is higher. So yeah, there's definitely a difference when you're preparing to buy a land.
Wow. When you're buying a house, Eric, I'm just wondering what are the main things you should consider? Should you consider your budget, or should you consider the environment, or should you just go for the best deal on the market, because we are swayed by different things. And sometimes when it comes to a house, it looks nice on the outside. Imepakwa makeup, my friend, iko sawa kabisa. So when a client comes to you and they're thinking of buying a house, what are some of the main things you tell them they must consider and should not compromise on?
Okay, so when a client comes to us, one of the things we do with them is we look at their needs, mm-hmm. and we look at their wants.
Oh, needs and wants.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Needs are the ones that are not negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Wants are the ones that are negotiable.
Okay.
So now, if they want to be close to a school, their kid's school, if that is a need, then we put that down in the checklist. So there has to be a checklist. Mm-hmm. And that checklist of needs or everything in that list has to tick. And yes, even though they may say they want an area that is expensive, we have to make sure the checklist ticks within their budget they have.
Okay.
So it's very important to consult and come out of that consultation with a criteria sheet.
Mm-hmm.
That criteria sheet is something that you in that criteria sheet, the needs are mandatory. The wants, now you start prioritizing.
Okay.
And then if you're looking for property, you look for property according to the priority of the wants. The needs are, remember again, they're non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
So you say the budget, environment is important. So they may decide, okay, I don't want to do a long commute. At times, they don't know it. So we discuss that with them. Mm-hmm. That's the purpose of consultation. We go back and forth and ask them to envision themselves commutes. We've advised clients to drive around neighborhoods in traffic hours that they thought they would move into. And they've come back to us and told us, we don't think we want to move to that area anymore.
Okay.
You see. So the purpose of consultation is to help the client to kind of live through the moment, imagine themselves living in that area, imagine themselves commuting to work and their kids being picked up early in the morning. So some clients have ended up in places where kids have to be woken up at 5 a.m.
Yes.
5 a.m. and sleeping through the bus until 7. Probably they did not consider the traffic that will come around, how the roads will be constructed. So there are many things that go into that list when we are asking those questions to a buyer.
I love what you're saying, Eric, and it's not even something I would have thought of if I'm thinking of buying a house, because at that point I'm thinking, I just want a house. Hata mimi niseme niko na nyumba, nisahau mambo ya rent. That's what's pushing me and driving me. I'm just wondering, Joseph, in your field, as you help people acquire property and buy houses, have you ever had a case of somebody who, did not consider all these things and they just pushed for, you make the deal, let's buy the house, and then later they came regretting because, okay, I didn't consider traffic, or I didn't consider this, or I didn't consider this. Do you ever have such cases?
Unfortunately, yes. And it's actually very, very common because houses in Nairobi, most of us work in Nairobi, right? But houses in Nairobi are expensive. Inside the city, they're expensive, or they are not big enough, maybe, or the neighborhoods maybe not desirable. So you want to buy a house that is a home, that you envision it being a home. So you want some tranquility in it. You want some fresh air over, you're sipping your coffee Sunday morning, listening to a session by Family TV, and whenever that happens, when you go for that, it's a want. And Eric probably put between differences between wants and needs. It's a want. What you're forgetting is the fact that you work in Riverside, in Westlands, and you've seen a very proper maisonette in Kitengela. Currently, what's happening on Mombasa Road is it's a nightmare. With the construction and the kind of traffic that piles up there. So yes, you got a very beautiful house, has space, has fresh air, friendly neighbors, kids playground, and so on and so forth. And you can have your peace and tranquility, the want that you're going for, the space that you're going for. You forgot that you need to drive through traffic every morning to be in Westlands. That means you have to drive into the CBD and out of it to go to Riverside. That is a complete nightmare. So I've seen situations whereby somebody actually takes money, buys the house, lives in it for less than 2 months, lets it out and moves back into the city.
Wow.
Imagine. And then the house that you actually move into the city rent is a bit higher than what your maisonette can fetch in Kitengela. Because how much will a rental fetch in Kitengela, right? And in Nairobi, because you're working in Riverside, then you're thinking about in and around Riverside, let's say Ruaka, say Kino, and so on and so forth. So you find that your investment it's your home turns into an investment now. Now you're collecting rent. It's not serving the purpose that you wanted to. Your intention was, I don't want to pay rent anymore. And now you have to abandon your house. Maybe you're even planning on selling it so that you think of moving somebody somewhere else while you wait for the road to be complete. So again, think ahead, plan yourself to avoid such situations.
Okay. Before we run out of time, I've got a question here. Maybe Eric, you can take this one. This gentleman says, I bought land and involved the authorities like the surveyor and the assistant chief, and we signed an agreement that the land was sold. As soon as the assistant chief and other witnesses died, the owner resold the land to some more people, claiming that he wants to refund me the money, which I am not ready to take. What should I do?
Okay. It sounds like a case of fraud, because if he did his due diligence, there's possibility there is fraud over there, because if they involve the surveyor, I think he said he involved the lawyer.
Surveyor and assistant chief.
Assistant chief.
Yes.
It sounds like a case because if he signed a contract and he got his title, if he get his title, and now people have come to claim it, it's just as could be a case of fraud.
Okay. So what should he do?
My advice is that he should follow the process of going to court. And then if there are any, like maybe if he's made friends with the neighbors around, it's also good to get a background.
Yeah, do a background check.
A background check to know what's really going on, because that will strengthen their case. But usually that one, the person has to go to court and present their case. Because if they have done all this, and especially if it's documented, they have a strong case, and they're likely to win that case.
Okay. Yeah. Finally, Joseph, you can take this one. Good morning, family. Thank you for the informative topics, including the one we are having. Now, kindly explain about freehold and other titles. A cousin of mine, land buying and selling broker, bought land for me back in 2017, but up to date, no documents, nothing, only promises that the process is coming to an end very, very soon. What should I do to either get my money back or to get the land?
Wow, that's such a long time.
Yeah.
I would get my money back. What's happening? First of all, you need to ask for timelines. How long does it take? How long should I give you? But in terms of types of documentations for land, freehold and leasehold. Freehold, it's very difficult to find freehold land nowadays, but what it means is this land has the holding of the land has no expiry date. Usually leasehold, it means it's yours forever, right? Leasehold means that you have bought it for a period not exceeding 99 years. So whoever had the land first, say bought it and got a leasehold title for 99 years. Maybe they stayed with it for 40 years and then they're selling it off. That means you're getting that land for 59 years. A short story here would be that extending the lease is very doable, just paying rates and so on and so forth. But those are the two types of documentation for buying land.
Okay.
But with regard to whoever sold that land and up to date there's no documentation, I would push for getting my money back.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't want a situation whereby finally the land is worth more as you had anticipated it to be, and then you're told you cannot convert it into money in your pocket, or you cannot build a home on it because you do not have documentation.
Yeah.
The government is digitizing this process, so that's happy days for all of us involved in this industry, whereby there'll be transparency. I'll be able, due diligence will be, like we keep saying that word right now, but it will be more available. Digital is the way to go. So for example, if I can be able to do a search online myself, or sit next to the professional who's helping me buy the land and we do the search together on a government portal, and then they're telling me that yes, this land is legit, and yes, the title can be out in X number of days or months, then you see I'm trusting the government because this is your portal. But right now I'm putting my trust in individuals I'm dealing. Like I'm going to say to the office, I do not, yes, I'm in the government office, but I do not know what's going on in the background there. We've had cases of corruption going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe I think I'm doing due diligence, but I'm being handled. Maybe the agent thinks they're doing due diligence, but they're being handled. So this is what contributes to us not getting our titles in time, or not getting them at all, or buying land that actually is not supposed to be sold. So yeah, I'd push for bring my money back until you sort yourself out.
Awesome. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Moses here says, thank you for this show. It has been very informative. Evelyn Mirenge says, thank you. Those are good insights on houses. Unfortunately, my time is up for today. And I'm grateful that you were able to find time to be part of this conversation today. So asanteni sana.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. I'm out of time for today for the financial clinic, but remember this whole month we'll be focusing on matters, real estate, land, and looking at this conversation from different angles. So I know we'll learn quite a bit the whole of this month. That's all the time we have for the financial clinic today.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.